All right, we're back with another edition of the ATL 3-Style Live Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Leo G, and right now I got my boy sitting over there to the east, Derek O. What's going on, my brother?
What's going on, my brother Leo G? What's happening, baby Banks over there on the west side?
What's going on? What's going on? Mr. Derek O. out there in South Carolina.
I was gonna say Athens, but you said South Carolina. Beat me to the punch.
Hey, y'all at least keep me in Jordan and say Augusta.
I said Athens. Hey, listen, fellas, man. Glad to be back, man. Glad to have a show this evening, man, so we can piggyback and follow back up on the NFL draft. Got a lot to talk about tonight, fellas. But before we get into it, y'all know how we got to do it, man. We got to get into this business first and foremost. Banks, go ahead and let everybody know about our brother out there on the east side, man.
Well, you can check you guys out with my boy Phil, Eastlands Woodworking Company. He does a lot of woodworking for your needs. Just like this, for example, this is a coaster, drink coaster. He also does ashtrays. He does like plaques and stuff you can hang on your wall. You can personalize it, so put your favorite team, put your name, anything you want. Hit my boy Phil on that QR code, Eastlands Woodworking Company.
That's what's up, man. Shout out to our boy Phil out there, all the way out there in Athens. And that's to our boy Derek O, man. Also, man, definitely got to make sure we give a shout out to BEZ, man. Definitely give a shout out to BEZ Moisturizer Conditioner Spray for holders down. Y'all know what time it is, Derek O. You still got to come out here and get this sample, man. 470-222-9927. That's 470.
You must have knew
222 9927. Hey man, look, dude. I have seen you, man, but you did not remind me. So my apologies of putting that in the bag for you, man. But we'll get that to you, man. We'll definitely get that out there to you, man, so you definitely can enjoy it. All right, fella.
You see how
before you go on,
hold on, back. I gotta straighten up for a second. You know how I brought you that package the last time we got together because I had forgot it the last time? See, I made an effort. I had made myself a note. So when you get in your age, you're going to start putting yourself a little note somewhere. Hey, don't forget XYZ, and then you won't forget XYZ.
Okay. I start doing that, man. I start making me a note, man. Putting a reminder in the phone or something, man. Banks, what you got?
Yeah, you shout out Derek O, but you didn't shout me out. But that's okay. I'm not in my fields, but yes, I'm out here.
Derek O shouted you out.
But you didn't do a proper introduction. But I'm not going to let it slide. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do. We have little banters like this. This is all good. It's all love. Let me tell you something. I'm doing good down here on the south side. Derek O, Leo, how y'all doing?
Man, we good, man. That's what's up, man. My apologies, dog. I definitely give you your proper introduction on the next go round, man. But Derek O slid it right on over to you. I thought that's what we do, man. I thought we do the alley-oops, man. And we keep it going. But my apologies. I'll give you the proper introduction. You know what I'm saying? We roll out the red carpet for him and everything next time, Derek O, since he want to act brand new over there, man. You know what I mean?
Leave you roll the red carpet out for me. Come on, y'all.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, getting right into business, man. We got NFL draft talk today. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Falcons did, and of course, the NFL draft that just passed. It's been a while, man. We haven't been able to get on, man. A lot of stuff going on in Atlanta sports, and that we'll definitely talk about that. But we definitely want to get in here and talk about the NFL draft. Derek O, man, we'll get into the picks and selections here in just a moment, man. But did the draft build up and hype live up to the expectations as it always does? Or was it flat for you? I mean, tell me, when you turned it on, did the NFL do a good job of the build up and just, the production of it all?
Not really. I mean, it was in Green Bay. Come on. I don't care how you try to put lipstick on a pig, it's still Green Bay. I mean, yeah, it was just it was just blah for me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe because it was Green Bay. I mean, who wants to go to Green Bay and stand up there in the draft at 47-degree weather when everywhere else they go, it'd be pretty, secure because everybody know that there's nothing to do in Green Bay. But I digress. But other than that, yeah, it was all the drama that was unnecessary. But we'll talk about that. I know you're gonna get to that part, so I'm gonna slide off that subject right now before I
Yeah, I
do
try
so.
to. I mean, NFL trying to share the love, man. I mean, the Super Bowl obviously can't go everywhere, so they decided a couple of years back that they wanted to share the love and try to go around the league and get as many places as they could. Yes, Green Bay is the smallest market in the NFL, so they tried to show them some love. I mean, it is what it is. Banks, over to you, man. How did you feel about the production value of what we call the draft? Derrico told us how he felt about the location, but the production of it all, how did you feel about it, man? I mean, this is your 67th draft that you've watched. So tell us how you feel. How did you feel about the production value, man?
Listen, I think the production was A1 to me. I like it seems like every year, fellas. I don't know if you guys realize each time they do the draft, it's this big pomp and circumstance. They got the red carpet, right before they, what you wearing, they snapping and oohing and ahhing. I love it, man. I think it's a real good. It's a setup for the kids out there that's trying to, their dreams are coming true, and the way they come out that tunnel, they get to walk down this long hallway and then they pop, they tap on their logo and then they pause by the mirror, put their hat on, style themselves, and then go meet the commissioner. I think that is that's so special. And then you see the ones that didn't make it and they're at home and then they have their family, they have their friends, they have this big, big, big special like get together and then they just it's a raw emotion. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love what the NFL is doing. Not just the draft; they do everything with a big, big production. We got a schedule coming out, and they doing a production for that. I mean, it's a schedule release, and we have this
What
big, big build up for it. It's just it's incredible.
I almost thought you worked for the NFL. How you just went over there just taking over the NFL
Hey man,
draft?
listen, I
I was
enjoy
about to
it
say,
though,
I was
Derek.
about to say, how much is that check?
I
You
enjoy
know,
it though,
listen,
Man,
Derek. I mean, it's something. It's the schedule release. It's the draft. I mean, everything they do, they got this big build up for it. Like remember when we were watching the NFL in the early 2000s, it was never like this. Come on,
of
y'all.
course
It was
not.
never like
I
this.
mean,
No, I mean, yeah. After years and years, they had to keep it where folks was entertained and captured their attention. Like I saw the build up to the schedule release for the first time this year, where they say, "Oh, we're gonna have news channels introducing picks on Monday. We're gonna have another set of folks introducing picks on say places where they're gonna play at on Tuesday." So it's like they got a whole 3-day event now just for the schedule release, and I'm like, "Come on, NFL, y'all sure be milking it." But hey, they like it. I love it because I look. I'm ready to put my schedule together because I want to fly out of here somewhere.
speaking of fly, we're gonna get to the schedule here after we talk about the draft picks, man. Yeah, got it coming out tomorrow. Looks like there's are some leaks already. We'll talk about them and discuss. Looks like, fellas, I saw a week one leak. Looks like we have a week one opponent now, and also we do have another opponent that we know of for sure and a date later on in the season. The production of it all with the NFL, man, hey, like you said, Derrico, I agree, man. They milk every part of it, man. And like you said, Banks, they don't disappoint. Listen, I was if any draft that, uh it's always cool to see these kids get drafted, right? That's what we want to see. We want to see these guys that have worked very, very hard to make it to the league have their moment. And they do. And the NFL does a good job of doing that and showcasing these guys. Even through COVID, even through the pandemic, we were able to do a virtual draft, which I thought was pretty cool. If you guys remember that, of course, who doesn't remember that? So yeah, the NFL, they try to do it and give these guys their just due. So let's get right on into it, man, and let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons and what they were able to do in this draft. We talked about it before We talked about we had the pre-draft preview, and we talked about what we thought the Falcons might do and what they should do. And fellas, I really do think that maybe they listened to our show. I want to say I think that they actually listened to our show and they said, you know what, man, we need to double down and do what we need to do and make sure this defense is going to be right, man. So let's start this thing off, fellas, and talk about the first pick that the Atlanta Falcons got. Let's do it. The first selection by the Atlanta Falcons, first round at pick 15 was none other than my man out of UGA, that boy Jalen Walker. This was so for me, and we'll discuss this, man. This was an actual shock to me, and the reason it was a shock to me is because I did not think that he was going to be there at number 15, and I don't think the Falcons thought he was going to be there at number 15. I think, fellas, we joked a little bit on draft night as we texted each other and was trying to figure out why the Falcons were taking so much time off of the clock. And I think that the Falcons were kind of there trying to figure out and weigh their options. I mean, you had somebody like Jalen Walker that was on the board, and it's like we cannot pass him up. But then there were other things going on as well, and there were probably other conversations with other teams, just a lot going on in that war room. Banks, I'm going to pass over to you. How happy were you when you heard the name Jalen Walker? Of course, you were at the draft party. And what were you thinking? What was going through your mind as you saw that whole entire time clock just started to tick away? And that name, the pick wasn't in until almost the clock had expired.
Well, when I was at the draft party, a lot of people was talking, with each other, trying to figure out what the Falcons were going to do. I, for one, I kept mentioning, I said they letting the time tick down. They got to be trying to trade out of it. I know that was something that everyone had to assume that the Falcons wanted to do going into the draft to accumulate some draft capital. We only had 5 draft picks going in. I'm pretty sure anything added would have been a plus. So when the clock kept ticking, everyone's like, what are they doing? What are they doing? You had people with Jalen Walker's right there. Jalen Walker's right there. What are we waiting on? Then you had the other folks who wanted Mike Green. Well, Mike Green is there. You can't. And everyone was like just really anxious and like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're going to let the time run out. We're not going to make a pick. I said, I don't think it's that. I think we got people calling us. I think people are like trying to get to 15 to get whoever. And I think that, like you said, Leo, I think the Falcons are trying to weigh the options. Do we go ahead and trade out of it? Or do we go ahead and take the guy that, that fell in our lap that we didn't even know who was going to be here? So I think they had to make that decision real fast, before the time ran out. I don't think they was going to let the time run out. I think they really knew they were going to either do one or two things. We're going to get our draft picks, trade down, or we're going to just get this Jalen Walker, rip the Band-Aid off, and get our guy that we didn't know we were going to have. So I think after that, when you saw everyone was like on the edge of their seats, they called Jalen Walker's name. The stadium erupted. I've never seen a reaction on the draft pick for my Falcons draft pick, I mind you, in a long time. I was really, really surprised to see all the happy faces, high fivings. We finally did it. We did it. We did it. I'm like, wow, damn, it's been that long. I mean, it's like not just a UGA player. I'm talking about a pass rusher. Somebody we can say, okay, we can build something around this guy. He's an instant fan favorite, fellas, instantly.
Derek Cole, your reaction, like I said, Banks just said we were all kind of in the group text trying to figure out what the Falcons were going to do, end up getting Jalen Walker. And like Banks said, majority of the people there at the party were pretty pleased. I think the consensus is we were pleased as well.
Oh, absolutely was the consensus. And yes, Banks, piggybacking off of you, I definitely was like, these cats really trying to get out of this pick. I mean, that was the first pick of the draft that the time had got so low. And I said, they have to be trying to accumulate more picks. And also in the same vein, after listening to them talk afterwards, it's like they were conflicted. Is it Jalen or is it the guy that we really want? And we'll get into the other pick later. So that was the thing I think they was going back and forth with. Like, but you can't go wrong if you pick a dude that you absolutely positively probably didn't think was going to be there at 15 in Jalen Walker. So you had to pull the trigger, because if you want to pull the trigger and pass up on that dude this time, I think the whole Falcon fan group, fanatics, Dirty Bird Nation, everybody would have absolutely cut. I ain't gonna say what I was gonna say. Was gonna go up there and say something to Terry Fontenot and our head coach Raheem Morris for not doing what they were supposed to do, which is at that point, he had to be BPA. He had to be the best player available on anybody board at 15 at that point. So I was ecstatic that they pulled that boy name and called out Jalen Walker. I think they said linebacker, University of Georgia.
Hey, Banks, I know you had your church finger up over there here. We'll pass it over to you in just a second. I want to piggyback off something that Derrico just said. Give me 1 second. This was something, in my opinion, that I felt like the Falcons were in a good spot. But, as we make these comments about the Falcons and how they like the Falcon stuff up and are they going to Falcon stuff up, I think that those feelings kind of started to roll into some of our minds. Like, okay, are they really going to mess this up? And seeing what we had available to pick. They were in a good spot, though. I think that they were probably a lot of grins, a lot of smiles. But then we'll talk about the second pick and how that kind of affected the direction that they went into. I mean, you just had a plethora of players that could really, really help the defense right there in your lap. The draft some of the draft went chalk, but then when you saw, teams take offensive linemen and unexpected teams take people and pieces that we thought, hey, because we thought, let's be real, we thought Jalen was not going to get past Carolina earlier on in the draft. We thought he wasn't going to get past the Saints earlier on in the draft. Aints earlier on in the draft. All of a sudden we get to 15 and here he is. And it's like, man, I think that probably Terry and Raheem and everybody in that room looked at each other and had the biggest smile on their face. And then they said, okay, let's go to work and let's try to figure out how we do this. And that's where the time started to tick away, as we'll talk about the next pick. Banks, we'll get to you, man. And then we'll talk about this next draft pick that the Falcons pulled the trigger on.
I'm going to hurry it up. I just want to piggyback on what both of y'all just said, about the confliction of didn't know what to pick. We're not also going to talk about the fact that this is another subject that Terry Fontenot's job might be on the line here. He's really have to do like swing for the fences here. Like, do I get the guy that I always wanted going into the draft, or do I get this guy that's not only a fan favorite, but he's also addressing the need? What do I do? You know what I'm saying? At this point, you could not pass him up another, not to say he was from Georgia, but that particular player that fell in your lap that had no business getting passed out the top 10, guys. Let's be honest. He is at 15, and if you passed him up yet again, what this fan base would have done if you would have took, I don't know, anybody else, a certain name here, it would have been a lot of head scratching yet again. Like, what are we doing? He was right there. I can just hear it now because everyone in that stadium, fellas, I kid you not, was like, Jalen Walker, he's here. Oh my God, Miami didn't take him. Oh my God, Chicago didn't take him. He's right there, y'all. He's right there. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Here we go. I've seen this already. I know how this is going to end. I'm like, we're not going to get him. I know we're not going to get him. This is going to empty out. It's going to empty out real quick.
Well, that pessimism crept right on up into your brain.
It's not about the pessimism, but I just knew that, back in the past, come on, this is the first Georgia player drafted for how long? What, 1966? Come on, fellas. I mean, you had to know that it was a possibility that this may not even happen. But when they actually called his name, bro, it was elation. It was elation.
I do want to say something, Banks. It was 66, but it wasn't the last UGA player drafted. It was a UGA player drafted that high.
First, that high. Right.
Correct.
Right.
Falcons have drafted UGA players, but never that high. So look, we'll go on, fellas. I'm gonna save us from the cheesy NFL draft time. I thought I'd do that to open up the conversation, but let's move on to the second pick. So, like you said, Banks only had 5 picks. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I went to bed. I'm like, you know what? I got to get up in the morning. We made our pick. It was late. Hey, Banks was filing up out of there. I think Derrico was doing Derrico things, and all of a sudden, I wake up the next morning and I got like 30 text messages, and I'm like, man, what happened? I'm like, either something like catastrophic has just happened. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I wake up and I see that we trade back up into the first round. The Falcons traded back up into the first round. This was something that Terry had alluded to earlier. We'll talk about the pick in just a second. Remember, we talked about this on the draft preview, is that Terry said that he was more likely to trade up than to trade back. Obviously, he called his shot and traded back up. I think that had a lot to do with the nature of what happened, and we'll talk about this. So the next pick that the Falcons were able to acquire, they jump back in, they trade with the Rams. We lose our 2026 first round pick. Obviously, we lost some other picks. I don't know. I don't have them offhand. Maybe somebody has what we actually lost to give up to jump back into the first round. We draft James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. Double down on defense, which we talked about that was going to be the point of emphasis, was defense. And arguably, this guy was the second best edge rusher outside of Abdul Carter coming out. And he was there for the taking. Now, let's talk about this for a second, and let's talk about the implications of this pick. Banks, I'm going to bring it over to you here first, and we'll talk a little bit about James Pierce Jr. Now, we're hearing now that this was the pick all along. At 15, this was going to be the pick all along. Now the Falcons have to jump back in to the first round to get him. Now we kind of see why the time probably ticked off the clock at 15 is because they were trying to probably piece together how they were going to do this, because let's be real, they probably hinted to James that he was their guy at 15, right?
Exactly. That was, and I didn't want to say it, in a previous segment, but I knew that was a piece of my argument. They probably had some kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, to James Pierce Jr. when they had the meeting with him and his mother the day before. So I kind of pieced the puzzle. Maybe I'm reaching here too hard, but I looked at his body language when we finally picked him at 26, and he had that look like, dang, you cost me some money. I thought I was that pick at 15, or whatever was said. I can't assume what was said. But yeah, at the end of the day, he was happy, but I don't think he had that look like, but I'm not the guy that you said I was. Maybe I'm reaching too hard, but that whole delay going into the confliction of, oh my God, Jalen Walker's right here, but our guy James Pierce Jr. Back and forth, like, well, okay, we got to be away, we got to get this guy. Time is steady ticking, tick, 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 tick. Rip the Band-Aid off Jalen Walker. Let's figure out James Pierce Jr. later. So, I feel like, the whole thing with the picking him up, what I'm saying, at that particular moment, it that's my opinion, guys. You can take how y'all want. I feel like it was something agreed upon on the meeting with him and his mother, and he didn't feel too hot the fact that he was picked kind of second, if you will, behind Jalen Walker.
Well, these things happen. It's the draft, and we'll get Derek Cole's take on it here, but it's the draft, Banks. I don't think you could be in your feelings. I mean, the young man knew that he was probably going to get drafted, and I'm going to give props to Terry for willing and dealing and making that happen. If you, those of us that listened to the conversation that was had when they made the phone call to James, when they talked to him, Raheem, I think, picked up the phone. He said, it took a little longer than we expected, but you're here. So they kept their word and did what they said they were going to do. In true fashion, Derek, right? They pulled a Les Snead and said, F them picks. We want our guy. We took Jalen, and then we got our guy. Derek, how did you feel about that pick and how everything kind of transpired and us getting back into the first round to take James Pierce Jr.?
That's the first thing I said, because I knew that there was going to be some overzealous, pessimistic, can't never be happy Falcon fans about nothing that we do after you bitched and moaned. Yeah, I had to say it like that. Bitched and moaned about no pass rush. And then we go up there and nab 2. And the only thing that y'all can talk about is, oh, we gave up a first round pick. No, some of y'all so stupid you said we gave up 2 first round picks. That's just how dumb you were. So let me go ahead and just preface that with that. Yeah, we gave up a future first round for basically a player that's probably not going to be the player that we probably would have got in the first round next year, because we don't know where we'd have been. All this if, ands, and buts stuff that we do as fans need to cease. Les Need is the prototypical GM for me when he said F them picks. And when he said F them picks, they went out there and won the Super Bowl. Period. Nobody thought about that first round pick the next year. So that's what I want to say to my Falcons fans and everybody that's listening out there. F them picks. We went and got two bona fide dogs on that defensive line, which is something that we absolutely positively needed after being dead in the bottom of the NFL forever in sacks. So miss me with that. We gave up a first round draft pick. It don't matter because we don't
got
know
our guy.
what we would have picked and we don't know where we'd have been in that bottom of that draft next year. And I hope it's
And Derek
anywhere in the 30s.
And let's be real about this, Derrico, too, man. Hey, look, we talking about jobs on the line, man. We talking about somebody picking for possibly they life, man. They trying to pick for their job. So, like you said, man, you can't worry about tomorrow. You worried about the day. I got a job right now to do, and I want to keep my job. So, hey, I'm trying to make this team the best I can. You got to win today. You know, this is year number 7. This team has not been to the playoffs. We've been in reach. That thing has been dangling. The division has been dangling in front of us the last couple of years. Tampa has, sneaking off with it. We just couldn't grab it. And part of it has to do with pass rush. We talked about this on the last show, right, Banks? That if we just had just a little bit more pass rush, it wouldn't have been so hard to win the division and ride on into the playoffs. All right, fellas, let's get it.
Absolutely.
Let's get into the meat of this and let's really talk X's and O's with these first 2 picks, and then we'll talk about the other picks here in just a minute. Jalen Walker, James Pierce. Banks, we'll bring it over to you here first. Jalen Walker, we know, has a unique skill set. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about his unique skill set and what he did at Georgia and what he'll be able to bring to this defense with the Falcons. And James Pierce Jr., I just want you to give us your take on how you feel about him and the film that you watched on him, how he'll be able to contribute to this pass rush day one.
Well, going back, being a Georgia fan, watching, how he even, had his, when I first laid eyes on him, when he sacked your boy out of TCU in that national championship game, I said, this guy is just going to pick up for what these guys left off, the one that was leaving, for the draft that particular year. And he came in, he did his job. He is a tweener. For a lot of people who don't know, he's a linebacker / kind of edge kind of guy. He can go forward, he can go backwards. He can drop in the coverage. He can play that outside linebacker, next to the mic. Or he can go out there and put his fingers in the dirt and he can go and, and lock in on that QB and knock his block off. I like that. We have a guy currently on the roster, guys, who's doing that as well. Ellis is the same particular linebacker that does the same thing. So you kind of got basically I'm not going to say a better Ellis, but I'm going to say you got someone that's a tad bit faster. You got a guy that now in Ellis who don't have to do it all. He can actually kind of like, okay, let me go ahead and fill my oats with the middle here and help out my boy Troy Anderson. Or he can be the new middle. Who knows? Who knows what Ulbrich is going to do with this defense? All I know is compared to Jalen Walker, that's what he is. Okay. Now, James Pierce Jr., for what I've seen in Tennessee, the man just rushed the passer. That's what he does. He go after the quarterback. I have not seen this man do any stunting, no back dropping. No, he went straight towards the QB. That's his specialty. Sack the quarterback. He said his favorite play is sack, strip, scoop, score.
Strip sack. There you go.
The 4 S's. Sack, strip, scoop, score. So that's what he wants to do. So I love it. You got your bookends, fellas. You got your DN on one end. You got the other one who can be a DN / linebackers animal. That's what I want to call him. He's gonna be an animal, and he's got a lot of leadership qualities that I love. That's too early. It's very early. I'm not gonna put the cart before the horse, but it seems like he has this quality about leading men. And I don't know, fellas. Maybe I got my Georgia bias coming out, but it seems like he is showing up, and I'm loving it.
Sound like you already got your jersey on the way. Derek Cole, man. Banks just talked about the skill sets that Jalen Walker possessed. Described as a tweener, someone that can pretty much do it all, man. I wouldn't be surprised if this dude could play safety. He could cover a slot receiver. He could do a lot, man. We watched him at Georgia, man. Just his athleticism alone. I think we watched him in that Texas game out there in Austin, just by himself wreak havoc. I remember his name. I was like, damn, Cuz is everywhere, man. I hear his name like every play. I mean, dude
Kevin
was
Banks
just
Jr. But
just
hey, ain't
just everywhere, man. This dude was everywhere and was able to do a lot. So this, in my opinion, man, is something that Jeff Ulbrich, our defensive coordinator, when he got the word that this is who we were drafting, he probably just got giddy like a preteen schoolgirl. Like, oh man, the things I can do with this guy in this defense. I think that he was just just crazy about it. And then Pierce Jr., like Banks said, just a beast that could come off the edge. Derek Cole, man, how do you look forward to seeing them in tandem and contributing early with this defense, bro?
I absolutely do. And Banks, I won't say you stole my thunder. I'm just gonna say you just make the thunder get louder. Everything that you said about that cat, number 11 from UGA, I love the fact that he's versatile. And I know people gonna say this is a easy comparison, but it really not an easy comparison. But I do think if we use him appropriately, then I can see him being in that Michael Parsons role that is in the Cowboy system, where you can line him up on the edge, you can line him up inside, you can line him up at a linebacker, you can line him up at that dog safety spot, and just let him get at it. But one thing I don't like that you said, because I don't want them to do him like that, is let him drop back in coverage. I don't want to see him be a Judon, because that's exactly what they did to Judon, and it hurt that man and made people think that he come past a rusher. I mean, it's kind of hard to pass a rusher when you 10 yards downfield covering a linebacker. I'm gonna say a tight end. So no, just like y'all said about Pierce, let that dude do what he do, which is stay on that edge and go after the linebacker. I'm gonna say go after the quarterback. Make sure you set the edge first, just in case they running the ball. But I don't care about you tackling nobody. As far as a running back, I just want your job to be to get to the quarterback. You're gonna be our pass rushing specialist, and let Ellis and let 11 roam back there and do what they do. And you got Jesse Bates coming up there to finish it off if it's a run. And you got this new that I'm not gonna jump ahead of myself with our other safety. So I'm just gonna let that ride.
Yeah, man. We'll talk about him in just a second. So listen, here's one of the things that I do like about Jalen, and I know Derek Cole, man. I'm gonna say this much. We need to utilize him where we need to utilize him. Listen, one of the things that I like about this pick is the fact that you have someone athletic enough to be a spy on a quarterback. We know this league now, we have a lot of athletic quarterbacks in this league. We'll face in our division several athletic quarterbacks in this league. Last year when we had a pivotal game up in DC, we faced a young man by the name of Jaden Daniels. Jalen Walker now gives you someone that can move out freely and spy athletic quarterbacks. We saw him do this once again against Texas, against Arch Manning. We saw him able to go from sideline to sideline and not give these guys any type of room to escape and get yardage upfield. That was one of the things that we couldn't do when we played against Jaden Daniels. And I say that because it was just, we couldn't contain. And when we did, when he did get out, we had nobody that can actually get from sideline to sideline and take him down. I think Jalen Walker gives you that. Like you said, you can move him wherever you need to move him like a chess piece, and you can actually game plan for each opponent and say, hey, you know what? This is where we need Jalen today because of who we're playing, and this is where he's best suited. And I think that that's going to be perfect because now you do have somebody, Banks, right, and Pierce, that's all he's going to be doing is pinning his ears back and going to get somebody. And let's not forget, we did bring in Leonard Floyd. You still got Ebukati. We still got a couple of guys that we want to be able to send in waves, and hopefully they will have been able to elevate their game going into this season. So it'll just give us a more potent rush because that's what we want. We want a more potent pass rush to just bring them numbers up just a little bit, man. Come out of the basement at least.
You said something, Leo, that was just music to my ears. You used the word or the term game plan, and I have not heard us being able to say that offensive coordinators is going to have to game plan for somebody on our defense. Not only do they have to do it for one person, they're going to have to do it for three people. And I'm saying three because I'm talking about them two bookends, and you still got to worry about number three back there on the back. Because if he get to the cornerback, if they get to the quarterback, and he just toss that thing up like Swiss cheese, number three is gonna come scooping and take it to the house. I just had to say that because that was just music to my ears. Game planning for somebody on our defense.
Absolutely, man. That's how that's what we should be looking for, man. We should be having there should be problems and nightmares on that defense, and offensive coordinators should be, losing sleep trying to figure out what they're gonna do in game plan against the weapons that we have. Banks, we'll get to you and then we'll move on to our next pick. What's up?
No, I was just saying that, with the guys that we got, on the defensive line, we in my eyes, it seems like we're getting more rookies coming in. We got Ruko Rororo coming in. We got Brandon Dorless coming in. Okay. Those guys barely played a little I, at all last season. I kind of see them as the building blocks with these young core that's coming in. I think a lot of people, are set, on Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. Like
You
this
can't
is,
forget about Braylon Trice, who didn't touch the
well,
field.
reason why I didn't say him because he's coming off an injury and this is his rehab year. I think he will contribute. I don't think he's going to be that guy like everyone think he is. I think he's going to have to work his way back in. This is going to be his very first time playing. So I think we got to kind of like temper our expectations on him. But other than that, yes, even Trice. So we have a big young nucleus on the defense, man. I can really say I'm excited for that we can build around. Like it's not, we're gonna hope, and there's no disrespect to people like Arnold Ebiketie and Zach Harrison. Listen, you guys still on the team. But it's like now you feel like, okay, now we got something we can really, really hang our hat on now. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? These guys are young, they're hungry, they don't have nothing to say, say you did this last year and you didn't do what you're supposed to do. No, this is a clean slate. So we can run with this from here on out with these guys, and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely, man. So let's get into this third pick that we were able to pick up, man, in round 3, pick number 96, man. Guy by the name of Xavier Watts, man, out of Notre Dame. DB out of Notre Dame, man. I got a chance to watch this guy a couple of games, man. Obviously, we saw Georgia play Notre Dame, and I saw his highlights, man. And I started to look and and see, where this guy was, because he was the defensive back. He won the Bronco Nagurski Award, if I'm not mistaken, defensive back of the year in college football. So I wanted to do a little deeper dive and see what this guy was known for. Listen, this is something. This is a pick. Of course, obviously, I like the Jalen Walker pick and I like the James Pierce Jr. pick. But this pick right here for me, and I'm gonna bring it over to you here, Derek, man. This guy screams blue collar to me, man. This guy screams blue collar all the way. Man, I looked at this guy's highlights, man, and I looked at what he did. Like this dude really has a great football acumen, and he puts himself in positions to win. Like it was rare that you saw him not in position to make a play or to affect the play. And I think this is what we actually need back there in the secondary. You know what I'm saying? We need guys. I tell people all the time, you want to have athletes, but this up here, that gray matter in between your two ears, is your biggest tool out there on the football field. And I think this guy paired with somebody like Jesse Bates that already knows the ins and outs of the NFL, oh man, I think that's going to unlock the potential in this kid. I was very excited when I saw the highlights of this guy and just his knowledge and him able to put himself in places and make picks. I think this was an awesome pick, and I think he's going to be a contributor early. And I think pairing him with somebody like Jesse Bates, who's a veteran and understands how this works, is just going to make him that much better. Derek Colton, would you agree?
This is the epitome of the phrase or term He is a football player. That is what we've been missing mostly on our team outside of pass rush is a football player. And he's a ball hawking football player. He is a physical football player. And as you alluded to, Leo, he is a smart football player. Now, if you put all those attributes together, I do believe that he's going to pair well with Jesse Bates back there on the back end of our defense. You ain't got to ask him to run no 4-4-5. All you need him to do is stay in position and make sure that nobody gets behind him. And when he come up to tackle somebody, that he tackles somebody and don't let him run through his arms like somebody else did that is no longer with us. So I am ecstatic about this pairing of him coming from Notre Dame that went school with the Gold Dome.
Look,
That's
go
all I'm gonna
down.
give y'all props. So
Just look
that's all
go
the
down,
props I'm
man.
gonna give y'all. And yeah, I think he's gonna be a second version, but a smaller version of that dude from Baltimore, number 14, who also went to Notre Dame.
Absolutely, man. Yes, like I said, I love that pick. I didn't know much about it, and of course, I had to do my due diligence like we always do, and go look at the guys that we're familiar with watching Pierce and Jalen Walker because we're familiar with SEC country, not so much with that gold dome helmet up there. Even though their games come on like prime, we're not even gonna talk about that. I'm talk about Notre Dame. I'm gonna take it over here to Banks. Xavier Watts, man. How thrilled are you about this pick, man? Do you feel good about this pick with Xavier Watts, man, like me and Derek O do?
I mean, absolutely. I remember, what I'm saying, something about in the a pre-game, pre-draft show, they was talking about Xavier Watts going second round. I vaguely remember him playing him when Georgia played Notre Dame, and I was like, damn, that dude's pretty good. But I had, he kind of, he fell off my memory because wasn't locked in on him. When we traded back in that night, I was texting with Derico, and I was like, we traded back, we're in. And the first thing that came to my mind was Malachi Starks. I was like, who else can it be? And it's Malachi. I'm thinking we lost Simmons. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. We need another safety. And then we did what we did with James Pierce Jr. And then I said, okay, well, whatever. So we picked up Watts, and I was like, damn, I forgot all about him. Yes, and I started looking at more film about him. He has this edge about him, man. I can't even put my finger on it. It's like he doesn't have he's like a no nonsense kind of player. You know what I'm saying? They did a documentary on him. If you guys check it out on his YouTube, it's a documentary about him leading up to the draft day. He just has a no nonsense kind of attitude when he plays. And even when he answered the phone from Terry Fontenot, it was just like, he had that look like I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, no sadness, no happiness. It was just a blank face. I'm like, okay, is he okay? You just got drafted in the NFL, young man. Show some kind of emotion. But it was there, but he didn't show it. And I can tell that it's like, okay, yeah, he's locked in. He's ready to do this. We got ourselves one, fellas. And I think, going back, you know, everyone was saying what we need out this draft. And everyone said we need at least 3 starters. And I think we got our third starter, fellas.
Absolutely, absolutely, Banks. I'm glad you nailed that, man. The, the draft picks that we've talked about thus far have starter written all over them. I mean, let Terry cook. He damn sure did with these first three, man. Obviously, we want to see all of them pan out, man. But to piggyback on what you just said, Banks, man, the dude he's just a calm dude, has a calm demeanor. And I think that's just his character. That's just his personality, man. He, like you said, he's ready to go. I think he'll get in there and fit right in just fine. Like I said, I think, it's key to get somebody with his attributes and pairing him with a veteran like that, man. That's really gonna do wonders. And I think that's just gonna and let's be real. We still got AJ Terrell over there at corner, and we got another young man that we're gonna talk about that we're gonna bring into this secondary as well here in just a moment. But I'm very, very optimistic about what he's going to do early on to contribute in that secondary, man. I just think that was a great pick, and I like the blue collar attitude that I think he's going to bring to that secondary, man, and put himself in positions to help that secondary out. Because let's be real, hey, when that pass rush isn't working, you got to have guys back there that are set, because it's not all about covering the receiver for 8 seconds, right? You got to understand mechanics. You got to understand a lot of different things playing in the secondary, and I think he'll be a pupil of the game, study the game, and be able to move very, very fast. All right, fellas, let's talk about this next pick, man. Another exciting pick here, Banks. I'm gonna bring it over to you here, man. 4th round, we take a guy out of Oklahoma, Billy Bowman Jr. Now, listen, we always talk about the word dog, you know what I'm saying, on defense. And listen, you don't really refer to dog when you start talking about guys in the secondary, right? We kind of joke about the guys in the secondary being cute, right? We talk about secondary guys don't really want to tackle too much, don't want to really be too physical. They're out there just to cover wide receivers. Not this kid, not this damn kid. I saw some highlights of this guy, and he is ready to mix it up. Not a real big guy, but has some very good physical attributes. But I saw highlights of him getting after running backs, moving down on the line of scrimmage, making tackles. And for him not to be as big, you know, when I looked, I'm like, damn, this guy like 6'1", 230, you know what I'm saying? He up in the box. No, he's a smaller stature guy, more along the lines of a slot kind of DB in like a nickel package. But he's a dog. He's a real nose in it. I'm a football player. I'm going to get out here, Derrick Henry, whoever it is, I'm going to make these plays. Banks, doing your research and due diligence on Billy Bowman, man, did you come up with the same kind of thing and impression that I did about him being what we call a quote unquote dog out there in the secondary and is going to put his nose up there and do what he needs to do?
Absolutely. I had to actually do my research after we made the pick. It was confusing when we made him. I was like, another safety, huh? We double dipped in safety. So, naturally my mind went to, okay, so this must be a replacement for, when Jesse Bates, when he, maybe we're not giving him an extension, maybe we're going to let the man walk. And then we got our 2 safeties of the future. But then when I start, looking at some video and then people breaking his play down, it was like, he can, play that nickel. It's like, oh, now it makes sense. It makes perfect sense now. Watching him and how he played, and then it's again his draft call. I listened to when Terry Fontenot called him. Man, the man instantly said, "You picked the right one." I was like, "Okay, I see you there, Mr. Bowman." And he was like, "You got your dog. You got the right one." I was like, "Okay, he ready to go too." So I'm ready for the season to start tomorrow. I mean, he's like he ready to go. So yes, he can play that nickel. I still think he can play safety. I think we got a good hard-nosed safety, guys. I really do. The more I look at him, the more I'm like, yes, another building block with this young defense. Absolutely. Let's go. Absolutely.
Man, listen, 5'10", 200 pounds, like I said. In football terms, we call him a little light in the ass. But listen, like I said, man, you can't teach instincts. You can't teach athleticism. You can refine those things. I think he's gonna be okay. Derrico, your thoughts on bringing him in? A guy that, like I said, he doesn't mind getting his nose in there. And let's be real, he's also probably going to contribute a lot to special teams as well. So, your thoughts on Billy Bowman here, man?
I mean, what can you say about this right here? Now, this how I feel about it. I had the same thought process like Banks had. Oh, we just picked another safety. Why? And then I started hearing and started looking. I said, oh, we can drop him down in nickel covers, put him in the slot, put him in there, since he's not, like y'all saying, like a big stature dude. But again, I love someone that reminds me of a football player. I'm just going to keep hearing this from me. Just a football player. And that's what we've been missing. And I'm going to repeat myself continuously because I am thrilled that we finally went and got some football players and not some captains or somebody from over there from Montana State that played 18 different positions that can't do nothing but look good if they was out there in the community serving hot grits on a Sunday morning.
Just say his name. Just say his name.
Oh man, listen.
Just say his name. Just say it.
We're not going there.
Hiding. We got to stop hiding.
We're not going there. Listen, we got one more. Look, we got one more draft pick to talk about and a couple other items before we wrap this thing up, man. Listen, last pick that the Falcons ended up taking in the 7th round was a young man by the name of Jack Nelson, man. My favorite turn, really, really quickly. In your words, Derrico, man. Always great to have depth on the offensive line, right? 7th round pick, man. It's always great to have some depth, right?
Right. I mean, I said this at the beginning of the draft. Like I wouldn't have been mad if we'd have put the lineman that was a bona fide starter for the next 10, 15 years in the first round this year, even though I knew we had to go defense, defense, defense. But somewhere, somehow, I knew that they was going to use a later round to make sure that they picked up a lineman, and they had to pick up somebody to go in there and at least see what he's going to be able to do against some of the players that we already got on the football team. Hey, don't know nothing about this kid, but one thing I know, he got a shot and it's wide open because some folks on that line that think they got a solid or solidified position really don't have a solidified position, and that's the backups, and we don't have no depth on our offensive line. So yes,
Yeah, you
and he played all
gotta have depth on
positions.
the offensive line.
So I hate using this term like the football coaches use, multiple. You know, he's a multiple guy. You can put him in and plug him on either side. And remember, I think if I'm not mistaken, he started out on as a right tackle. So that means he would be the future for our left-handed blind side.
Absolutely. I think Derek muted himself accidentally. Banks, once again, one of my favorite terms. I don't have nothing to take a shot with tonight, but really, really quickly, your thoughts on adding depth to the offensive line room and offensive line position with our 7th round pick, Jake Nelson out of Wisconsin, I believe it was.
You're absolutely right. Wisconsin with them Badgers. Yes, you can't never have too much depth when it comes to the offensive line. We're coming to a place in this franchise, Falcon fans, is that we got to start thinking about replacements for these guys that's on the line. And I'm going to say his name, Mr. Jake Matthews. I'm looking at you. You're doing what you're supposed to do in your career here in Atlanta, and I appreciate it to you. But you are getting long in the tooth, and we are in a stage where now we got to start at having this conversation when we're going to really, really pay attention to this offensive line. I know a lot of people not want to hear this, but we're probably very close to that one draft that's going to be dull and boring. We're going to have that offensive line, tight end kind of draft, and people gonna be like boring, but we need it. We need it. We need that steak and potatoes kind of draft. We need that. We need them hog maulers. We need them road graders. We need that.
Hog
So
maulers.
hog maulers. We need something. We need road graders. We need that boring draft, and it's not exciting. It ain't gonna move you, but we need it. And I think it's coming up very soon. Next draft, I don't know, but it's I see it. And I'm not saying the guys that we have not doing a good job. They're doing an excellent job. But
Yeah.
it's probably almost time to start having this conversation about replacement. And
Yeah.
with Jack Nelson coming in,
Oh,
I'm not
next
expecting
year
him to take no more.
definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, what I'm saying is, I'm not expecting Jack Nelson. I could be wrong. He could be a beast, But if he comes in and add to the mix about being like our Newsel, who by the way, guys, is our new center, who did not do a bad job. Okay, I think a lot of Falcon fans don't realize that the center
Oh, he didn't.
who was doing a good job when we were, you know, when we
Norman
played the Tampa Bay
before
Buccaneers,
he got hurt.
both times we beat them, it was him.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was the center. So
Yeah.
listen, if he's something like that, man, we get in good shape. But again, it's not going to stop at Jack Nelson. We got
All
to
right.
keep it going. We got to keep it
Banks.
going. We got to find more players.
All right, Banks, put you on the spot here, man. Give me a letter grade for this Falcons draft class. Go.
I'm just going to say a solid A.
Derrico, give me a solid letter grade for this Falcons draft class.
I'm just gonna say you didn't say yes or
Derrico
no.
has.
Only because we had to trade up. You can't hear me? Y'all
Nah, you kind of
can
cut
hear me?
out. You cut out a little bit. What was it? What was the grade?
All right. I said an A minus.
A minus. A minus.
Only because we
Okay,
have
copy that.
enough draft picks. That's all.
Copy that. Derek was cutting out in and out a little bit, but he said an A-. I'm gonna give this draft a solid A. Like you said, I'm with you, Banks. I give it a solid A. We got BPA mixed in with need, mixed in with some ballers. I think this was a tough draft. I think that this, like you said, 3 out of 5 starters is not gonna be bad. Listen, we got about 5 minutes left to wrap this up. Want to talk a little bit about the schedule here that's gonna be released on tomorrow night, and we'll come back. I'm sorry, Banks. Go ahead.
You can't go on without talking about the undrafted free agents we just brought in to make it that grade that I gave it is a A. You know, we got those guys like your Nick Nash and your Kobe Bryants and your guys that's supposed to been drafted and didn't get drafted, and they're here at Flowery Branch. So that's another plus of this draft. You know what I'm saying? Somebody on that undrafted class is going to make the team. Maybe
Oh,
one,
absolutely.
maybe
Good call
two.
out.
But
Yeah,
that was the
I'm
reason
thinking,
why I
yeah, I'm
said,
thinking
"Hey,"
too.
you know. So
Yeah,
because of that,
absolutely.
that was included.
Absolutely. And undrafted free agents always, man. You find a diamond in the rough for those guys. A lot of times we forget about them, but those are the chip on the shoulder guys that are coming there and they really try to prove themselves. All right, fellas, couple of minutes left here, man. We'll just, like I said, NFL schedule release. We talked about it a little earlier in the show. It's going to actually happen tomorrow night, but we do have a couple of leaks that I want to talk about and discuss with you guys here in just a second. First leak, guys. I don't know if you all were aware of it. We got another bona fide lock-in today, but there's another leak that just dropped. From what I understand, I just saw this on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Week 1 looks like the Falcons will take themselves up to Boston or the New England area and take on the Patriots. Banks, week 1 looks like the Falcons are going to be going up to Foxborough, man. How you feel about that matchup?
Okay, line them up. Let's go. I mean,
Let's go.
I have no, you know, I'm kind of, I'm not.
But he like ready. He like, let's go.
Okay,
Scrap
let's
them
go. I
up.
mean,
Let's go.
you know, when the schedule dropped last year, you know what I'm saying? We was like, oh, we got the Steelers, you know, home, the first game. It was like, yeah, Steelers, but then it was like, okay, let's go. I mean, we can't do nothing about it. We got to line them up. We got to play them, you know. Same thing applies to here. You know, we got the Patriots. Okay, let's go. I mean, we on the road. We're not at home. Week 1, let's go. Hey, I
All right.
like it. Let's go.
Derek, man, hey, listen, for you, we knew about this. I kind of talked about this and I thought it was going to happen. So we'll see how this all pans out. Falcons international game. They take on the Colts over in Berlin. First game, actually, NFL game, actually, that will be played in Berlin, Germany. They will be the away team facing the Colts. How cool is this? How exciting is this that the NFL, there are more and more international destinations, and now we get to see the Falcons playing in another international destination a first time for that. How cool is that, man, to see the Falcons in Berlin?
Well, it would have been a travesty if they didn't put the Falcons in Germany, since that's supposed to be our international squad headquarters over there in Germany. So that would have been an absolute travesty. So I am happy for the Atlanta Falcons being able to go get that international exposure over in Germany, and it's being the first time that an NFL team has played over there. So that's one thing I can say. They can't say nothing bad about us being the first of that.
Absolutely. First team to play over in Berlin, Germany. Cool city, by the way, man.
We're
Very, very
gonna
cool
have
city.
a big following there, which is I'm very excited about. The Falcon fans that's there, they're going to be, you know, I do a lot of research on these Falcon web pages, and they have one, believe it or not, guys, is a Falcon page, Germany, and they are very passionate Falcon fans. I thought it was just BS. I said, what do you know about our sport? You're in Germany, you don't know anything about, but I had to eat my words because we're here in the United States that love soccer and have fandom of their teams out there. So it kind of is a two-way street. They love
Absolutely.
Falcons. They talk Falcons. I was impressed. They knew exactly what they were talking about. You couldn't really understand them, but you kind of got a gist of what they were trying to say. But they knew the players by name, what school they went to, you know, all this breakdown. I'm like, I am so impressed. Like, but
Yeah.
then again, we're playing out there to play the Colts, and we got a fan base already there.
Absolutely,
Kudos to the
man.
NFL. Kudos.
Like I said, I think one of the German fans actually announced one of our draft picks, man. So like I said, I'm excited about it, fellas. On the next go round next week, we'll actually talk about the dates, locked in times. We'll be ready to go. Derek will have his travel plans fired up. Banks and I will sit up here and discuss whether or not we are going to try to make that trip over to Germany or which away game that we're going to try to make it to. So we'll definitely do that on the next episode here. And we'll also talk a little bit more about some of the Atlanta sports that are actually going on that we've kind of neglected here at the Atlanta United, the Atlanta Vibe, the Atlanta Dream. They've kicked off their season as well, and we'll talk about these Braves and what they have going on over there. Listen, fellas, it's always been real. Banks. Let everybody know where they can find you at, man.
You can find me at Antoine Jarrell Banks on Facebook, or you can find me at Baby Banks 80 on Instagram, or you can see me somewhere out in Atlanta. Tap my shoulder and say, "Hey, that's the best way."
Out here in these ATL streets. Derek, what's up? Let them know where they can find you.
I don't know why your boy over there acting all modest. You know the best way to find him is slide in them DMs. But this Derrico, you can find me at Stacey D. Derrico on Facebook. You can find me on IG at Derrico_Virgo. You can find me on Snapchat, DJ K06. I'm on TikTok, something. I don't know what it is. Like _Virgo or something. I don't know. But I'm still not on that other. I'm not going over there. I don't think I'm going back to the other one. That X thing, Twitter, whatever you call it. Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's go. Hey man, let's go, man. Shout out to our boy Derrico, man. Shout out to everybody in the comments as well, man. Following us live, man. As well on YouTube and on Facebook Live, man. Catch me over there in the Twitter, X universe, whatever it is, at Southern Set with 2 T's. Also catch us at ATL3 Style over there. Catch us on our Facebook Live if you're still there, man. We appreciate everybody, man. We do this for the fans because we are fans, man. Catch us on our next show. Like I said, we'll talk about the NFL schedule drop, and we'll also talk about some other Atlanta sports related info. This has been another edition of the ATL 3 Style Live podcast, and we out.